Hey guys, now sources with WGN are telling us that they have arrested or have multiple people in custody after a SWAT situation unfolded earlier this morning, and we're told that that situation may actually be connected to the death of Officer Ariana Preston.
Once again, L1 to Woodstock Ambulance Duty Crew, respond for an adult female fallen, unable to ambulate. The Robbins residence, 11 Chester's Place. Repeating to Woodstock Ambulance Duty Crew, respond for an adult.
In the hours and days since the shooting of Officer Ariana Preston, Chicago police have been looking aggressively for those who were involved. On Sunday night, an unsuspecting Uber driver found himself giving a ride to two of the alleged suspects. Chicago police surveillance team were following one of the suspects and arrested him moments after he got into the back seat of the Uber with another woman. Pictures taken by the Uber driver shows a gun was recovered. Police reported saying that it was a semi-automatic 9mm pistol. It is unclear if that is the same gun used to take the life of Officer Preston.
Hey, good morning, guys. We're talking about Officer Ariana Preston, who lost her life over the weekend. She was set to graduate over this weekend, earning her master's degree. Now her family is preparing for her burial, while police are still making arrests in the murder of her. In her murder earlier yesterday morning, we stood near the SWAT situation where multiple people were taken into custody near the corner of 76th and Bishop in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood. Sources with WGN are telling us the hours-long standoff is connected to the murder of 24-year-old Officer Ariana Preston.
The shooting suspects are also linked to a string of robberies that occurred before the shooting. Police reports said at least one of those passengers was wanted in connection with the unaliving of Officer Preston. The driver, who did not want to be identified, said he himself was initially placed in handcuffs, but as soon as the officers sorted the scene, they took the handcuffs off the driver. The driver will say that he just started screaming, "I'm just an Uber driver. I don't know what's going on," according to police reports. Chicago Police Department surveillance team were monitoring the suspect that got into the back of that Uber near 76th and Bishop Street. The driver said within a minute, heavily armed officers surrounded the car. Other suspects allegedly connected to the shooting were also taken to custody near the same intersection in Auburn and Gresham after a SWAT standoff in a building. Meanwhile, the shooting suspects are also linked to at least one armed robbery that occurred before the shooting. Police reports showed the suspects arrested in the Uber was also wanted in an armed robbery that occurred earlier Saturday morning near 46th Street and Ellis Avenue in Kenwood. Police also quickly linked a Pacific red car to Preston's homicide. The car was later found torched and abandoned near 73rd Street and Eberhard Avenue in Grand Crossing. As of now, there are 5 alleged suspects in custody in the fatal shooting of Chicago police officer Ariana Preston. Ariana was driving home from her shift this past weekend when her car was surrounded by a group of criminals thinking she was an easy target to rob. She defended herself and an alleged gunfight ensued, and she was able to get a few rounds off, according to the Chicago Police Department. They have obtained surveillance footage from a Ring camera. Unfortunately, she passed away on the way to the hospital in a fellow police officer's patrol car. New information on one of those involved in the shooting had a long, violent criminal record at the age of 19. This person, who was one of the 5 arrested, was arrested in July 2021 for possession of illegal firearms. While in custody, he allegedly spat and kicked on police officers, and all his charges were dropped November 2021. Less than 1 week later, he threw his mother and 2 TVs down a flight of stairs, and again, the charges were dropped. By June 2022, he was indicted on a felony gun charge, pled guilty, and received 2 years of probation and no jail time. September 2022, he was caught for his 3rd gun crime in 13 months, and yes, the charges were dropped again. No one has yet been charged with Officer Preston's unaliving. However, 5 suspects have been charged with armed robbery in connection to the unaliving, and investigators try to determine what led to the fatal shooting.
We expect to learn new details Tuesday about several people arrested this morning in the shooting death of a Chicago police officer. 24-year-old Ariana Preston was shot and killed on Saturday outside her Avalon Park home.
WGN's Brona Tumulty is joining us now from police headquarters at 35th and Michigan. Brona?
Good evening, Ray and Lourdes. An extremely sad story all around. Some of the people who knew and worked alongside Officer Ariana Preston speaking out today and getting somewhat choked up, talking about a 24-year-old woman who had her whole life ahead of her.
It is very difficult to even speak.
Sergeant Vivian Williams becoming emotional today at a City Club event while speaking about slain Chicago police officer Ariana Preston.
Great kid, great police officer. Slayed in, gunned down on the streets of Chicago.
Just 24 years old, she'd served the city for the last 3 years, worked out at the 5th District and was gearing up for her master's graduation ceremony this weekend.
She just earned a master's degree at 24. Comes from a wonderful family. Became a police officer. Did everything right.
Instead of seeing her walk the stage, her loved ones are planning her funeral as the police community rallies around them.
You got a grieving family. We went over yesterday, we took food to the family. Some more relatives just came in, so me and Officer Lee are gonna go back over to Commanders with them now, and we're gonna take more food over to the family.
Preston was outside her home near 81st and South Blackstone early Saturday morning when it's understood a group believed to be in their late teens and early 20s approached her.
When she got to her home and got out of her car, there were some individuals who wanted to take things from her. So they decided that they would pull a gun, take things.
It's unclear how exactly things unfolded thereafter, but we're told Preston fought back.
From what we know, Officer Preston was able to get off a couple of rounds. She fought. She was a fighter.
While initially believed to be off duty, her passing is now considered a line of duty death, with as many as 6 people potentially set to face charges. At least some of those individuals were taken into custody early this morning in the 7600 block of South Bishop in the Auburn Gresham neighbourhood. That standoff involving SWAT team members and lasted, we're told, several hours.
For Ariana, there has to be a change. So, I would just appreciate anything you guys can do to help us make a change. This is who we are. We're police officers. That's just the job we do. We still are human.
Charges of armed robbery and possession of a stolen motor vehicle have been filed against 2 men, Jaquan Jackson, 18, and Joseph Brooks, 19, and 3 women, Shania Lloyd, 19, Henrietta Jackson, 21, and Summer Craven, 20. 1 more man has been identified as a suspect, allegedly, and remains at large, according to police. An investigator built this case. They say all 5 alleged suspects are connected somehow to Officer Preston's unaliving. Chicago first responders are honoring Ariana Preston with a procession to her funeral home, and she will also be honored with a few prayer visuals this week to celebrate her life and service to the community. Please continue to keep our family in thoughts and prayers, and hit that like button to share to make your people aware. And as always, remember to stay woke. Things change quickly.